You know me as the temptress who tried to seduce Joseph. But what if I told you I was the one who got seduced? I destroyed an innocent man with one lie. Here's what really happened that day. My name is Zuleika, and I destroyed the most innocent man I ever met. You know the story. Or you think you do. Joseph and Potiphar's wife, the temptress, the false accusation, the villain. But you don't know what it's like to live with gilded chains around your wrists. I was beautiful. Everyone said so. My husband Potiphar, captain of Pharaoh's guard, was rich. He paraded me like a prized possession. Dinner parties, state functions, royal banquets. I smiled, I nodded, I looked stunning, and I died a little more each day. Zuleika, wear the blue silk tonight, he'd command before rushing off to another military meeting. Another month-long assignment, another absence that left me alone in our massive estate. Do you know what it's like to sleep in a bed meant for two, night after night, with only silk sheets for company, to eat meals prepared by a dozen servants while sitting at a table for 20, to have everything money can buy except the one thing your soul craves, someone to see you, really see you? That's when Joseph arrived. I was in my garden, instructing the servants about the flower arrangements, when I first saw him, tall, young, broad shoulders. But it wasn't his physical appearance that caught my attention first. It was how he listened. Yes, master, he said to my husband, but his eyes held intelligence, respect, something I hadn't seen in our household servants before. This is Joseph, Potiphar announced casually. Hebrew slave. Bought him yesterday. He'll be working in the house. A slave. I should have dismissed him immediately. That's what Egyptian nobility did, but I couldn't look away. Within weeks everything changed. The household ran smoother. Crops yielded better harvests. Even the servants smiled more. It was as if some divine blessing had settled over our estate. And Joseph was at the center of it all. I started finding excuses to be where he was working. Inspecting the storerooms he managed, checking the ledgers he kept, always with proper distance, of course. I was a married woman, an Egyptian noblewoman, but I watched him. The way he treated everyone with dignity, from the lowest kitchen servant to my husband. The way his lips moved in silent prayer before meals. The way his eyes held peace. I'd never seen before. I was fascinated, then attracted, then obsessed. You're different, I told him one afternoon, when I found him alone in the courtyard. He looked up from the scrolls he was reading. My lady, the other servants fear us. You respect us. You respect us. There's a difference. He smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. My God teaches that all people have value, regardless of their station. Your God, not our gods. His God. Tell me about your God, I said, sitting on the marble bench nearby, closer than propriety allowed, but he didn't notice. Joseph's expression grew cautious. He is the creator of all things, the God of my fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I leaned forward. Does he answer prayers? Always, though not always the way we expect. I wanted to ask more. I wanted to ask if his God could fill the emptiness inside me. If his God could see past my beauty to whatever soul remained. But footsteps echoed across the courtyard. Joseph immediately stepped back, bowing respectfully. The moment was gone, but something had awakened in me. I started wearing my finest gowns around the house, choosing jewelry that caught the light just right, letting my hair fall in waves that framed my face perfectly. Joseph never seemed to notice. The accounts are balanced, my lady. He'd report with professional courtesy. The wine stores are fully stocked, my lady, with his eyes carefully fixed on the scrolls in his hands. It drove me wild. Didn't he see how beautiful I was? How I arranged to be alone with him? How I lingered when he spoke, hanging on every word? Or did he see it all too clearly? One evening, I found him alone in the house. Potiphar had left for a 3-week military campaign. The other servants were at the market. It was just us. I wore my sheerest linen dress, the one that showed the curves of my body. I'd spent hours perfecting my appearance. "Joseph," I called softly. He emerged from the record room, saw me, and immediately looked away, surprised. "My lady, is there something you need?" "Yes," I whispered, stepping closer. "There is." He didn't move, didn't look at me. "My lady, please, look at me." "Joseph." He finally raised his eyes to mine. What I saw there wasn't desire. It was pity. Pity. For me. "I can't," he said quietly. "Can't what?" I demanded, moving closer still. "Can't see that I'm beautiful. Can't see that I'm lonely. Can't see that my husband treats me like decoration." "I see all of that," he said gently, "and I'm sorry for your pain, my lady, but I cannot sin against God, or against your husband who has trusted me. Sin against God, as if wanting companionship was evil, as if needing someone to value me was wrong. Married women sleeping with their slaves was not uncommon in my land. Your God," I spat. "What kind of God denies comfort to someone who's suffering? The kind who offers better comfort than what we think we want," he replied. "Better comfort? What could be better than being wanted, being chosen, being seen as more than an ornament?" But Joseph walked away. He actually walked away from me. Day after day, I tried again. Different dresses, different approaches. I praised his wisdom, asked about his dreams, shared stories of my loneliness. He listened with compassion, but he never wavered. "Please," I begged one afternoon when I'd cornered him in the wine cellar. "I'm not asking you to love me. I'm asking you to see me, to choose me, just once." He looked at me with those eyes full of understanding and sadness. "My lady, you are seen by the God who created you. You are chosen by him. You are valued beyond measure, but not in the way you're seeking. My lady," he pleaded, "my master, your husband has entrusted me with everything in this house. He has given me full authority. The only thing I cannot touch is you because you are his wife. I can't go to bed with you, my lady. I'm sorry. It would be great wickedness against your husband, and a great sin against my God." I wanted to scream, "His God again. Always his God. Where was this God when I cried myself to sleep? Where was this God when my husband forgot my birthday? Where was this God when I felt like I was disappearing? Your God doesn't know what it's like to be a woman," I whispered. "Pardon me, my lady, but my God made men and women. He knows what it's like to be alone," Joseph replied. "He knows what it's like to be misunderstood, to be rejected by those you love." For a moment, something in his words touched the deepest part of my pain. But then the moment passed, and I was angry again. Angry at his God, angry at his principles, angry at his refusal to give me what I needed. The final confrontation came on a day when the house was completely empty.
Every servant had gone to the festival in town. Even the guards were away. It was just Joseph and me. I planned it perfectly. I waited until he was in the inner chambers, reviewing inventory. I locked the room door. Then I went to him. "Lie with me," I said. "No games, no subtle seduction, just raw honesty." He looked up shocked, saw my face, and immediately stood. "No, my lady, I cannot and will not." "Why?" I screamed, my composure finally shattering. "Why won't you touch me? Why won't you want me? What's wrong with me?" "Nothing is wrong with you," he said, backing toward the door. "But everything would be wrong with this." I lunged for him, not to hurt him, but to hold him, to force him to feel what I felt, to make him choose me over his precious principles. He pulled away so quickly that his outer garment tore in my hands, unlocked the door, and ran like his life depended upon his speed. And then he was gone, running from the house, running from me. I stood there, holding his cloak, trembling with rage and humiliation.
That's when I heard the voices. The servants returning early from the festival. They surely must have seen Joseph running away. Shirtless. Panic hit me like cold water. How could I explain this? How could I explain being alone with a male slave and him running away? How could I explain his torn clothing in my hands? In that moment, I made the choice that would haunt me forever. Help, I screamed. Help me. The servants burst in, took one look at me, holding Joseph's garment, and understood exactly what I wanted them to think. This Hebrew slave tried to lie with me. I cried, I screamed, and he fled, leaving his garment behind. The lie came so easily, too easily. Shortly after the words left my mouth, I saw Joseph being dragged back into the house. I saw the confusion in his eyes, the hurt, the disbelief that I could betray him like this. "My lady," he said quietly, "you know this isn't true." For a moment, I almost broke, almost told the truth, almost admitted that the only crime committed was my own desperation. But pride is a poison that spreads quickly. "Take him away," I ordered. They did. When Potiphar returned and I repeated my lie, he didn't question it. How could he? His beautiful wife, his trusted slave. The evidence of torn clothing, Joseph was thrown into prison, and I got exactly what I thought I wanted. No more temptation, no more rejection, no more reminder of my spiritual emptiness, and punishment for Joseph for daring to refuse my advances. But victory tasted like ashes. Within days, things started going wrong. Crops failed overnight. Livestock sickened and died. Servants dropped expensive vases. Silk tapestries somehow tore on their own. It was as if the blessing that had rested on our house had been ripped away. "What's happening?" Potiphar demanded. Everything was perfect, and now he was genuinely worried. I knew, deep down I knew, Joseph's God was showing his displeasure, but I couldn't say that. Couldn't admit I'd lied. Years passed. The household struggled. My marriage grew colder. Potiphar looked at me differently, though I could never tell if he suspected the truth, or if my guilt was making me paranoid. And I lived with the knowledge that I'd destroyed an innocent man. Then came the news that shattered my world. Joseph has been released from prison. A messenger announced at court, "Pharaoh has made him second in command of all Egypt." Second in command. Not just free, not just vindicated, elevated to a position that had never existed before. I nearly fainted. Joseph, the slave I'd sent to prison on false charges, now held power, second only to Pharaoh himself. His God had not only protected him, his God had elevated him beyond anything I could have ever offered. Elevated him well beyond my husband's level. Now even my husband will be subject to him. The crushing realization hit me like a physical blow. I had been on the wrong side of divine providence. And worse, I would have to face him. State dinners, royal ceremonies, court functions. Joseph would be there, in robes of fine linen, with the ring of authority on his hand. How could I look into his eyes? The first time I saw him at a royal banquet, our eyes met across the great hall. He was magnificent, powerful, surrounded by advisors and nobility. He looked at me for a long moment. No anger, no accusation. Just that same sadness I'd seen years before. Pity, still pity. That night I couldn't sleep. The weight of what I'd done pressed down on me like a stone. Finally, I woke my husband. "Potiphar," I whispered, "I have something to tell you." He sat up, instantly alert. "What is it?" The words stuck in my throat, but they had to come out. Joseph, the accusation. It wasn't true. Silence stretched between us like a chasm. "What did you say?" His voice was deadly quiet. I lied. Joseph never touched me. I wanted him to. I tried to seduce him. He refused. When the servants came back early, I panicked and lied. The explosion of his rage shook the house. "You what?" He leaped from the bed. his face twisted with fury. "You destroyed an innocent man. You lied to me. Do you understand what you've done to us?" I cowered against the wall as he paced like a caged lion. "He's second in command now, Zulika. Second in command. He could destroy our family with a word. And you." He stopped, staring at me with disgust. "You made me complicit in this injustice. I was lonely," I whispered. "I was desperate. You were selfish," he roared. "And now we're all going to pay for it. If I had chosen differently, if I had accepted Joseph's rejection with grace, if I had learned from his example instead of resenting it, we might have risen with him. Our family could have been part of his success story. Instead, we were forever marked as the people who wronged him. But even then, my pride wouldn't let me make it right. You should apologize to him," Potiphar said the next day, publicly. "Make this right." "I won't," I replied stubbornly. "I won't humiliate myself before the entire court." "You already humiliated us," he snapped. From that day forward, our home became a tomb. Potiphar could barely look at me. He avoided court functions where Joseph might be present. When duty required him to attend, he would return home and remind me of what my lies had cost us. "Do you know what he said to me today?" He'd report bitterly. "He was gracious, kind. He treated me with respect I don't deserve because of what we did to him." Each report was a dagger to my heart. Joseph's graciousness to my husband was worse than anger would have been. It showed the depth of character I had tried to corrupt, the integrity I had tried to destroy. The years wore on. I grew older, but not wiser, wealthier, but not richer, more isolated than I'd ever been in my marriage. I watched from a distance as Joseph's wisdom saved Egypt from famine, as foreign dignitaries came to seek his counsel, as Pharaoh treated him like a son and confidant. I could have been part of that story. We all could have been. Instead, I was a footnote, a cautionary tale, the woman who almost destroyed the man who became Egypt's salvation. Late at night, when sleep wouldn't come, I would replay that moment in the inner chamber. The moment when I grabbed his cloak, the moment when I heard the servants returning. What if I had let him go? What if I had faced the awkwardness with honesty? What if I had learned from his example instead of resenting his rejection? What if I had stopped trying to lure him? But some hungers, once fed with poison, only grow more toxic. I had fed my loneliness with lies, my hurt with revenge, my rejection with false accusations, and now I was emptier than ever. I told you at the beginning that I was the one who got seduced. Now you know why I said that. I was the one who got seduced by my own lust and passion for what a young man that loved his God more than temporary pleasures and favors. The bitter irony wasn't lost on me. In trying to possess what was pure, I had lost any chance at redemption. In trying to force someone to choose me, I had made myself unworthy of being chosen. Joseph's God, the one I had mocked and resented, had used even my betrayal for a greater purpose. Joseph's time in prison led to his interpretation of Pharaoh's dreams, which led to his elevation, which led to his saving Egypt from famine. Even my sin had served his plan, but there was no redemption in that knowledge for me. Only the crushing weight of realizing I could have been part of the blessing instead of the obstacle. I had been offered a glimpse of something transcendent, something pure, something that could have filled the emptiness in my soul. Instead, I had chosen to destroy it. Now, in my final years, I lie in the same luxurious bed where this all began. Still beautiful by Egyptian standards, still wealthy, still married to an important man who still looks at me with disappointment and pain, and still utterly, completely alone. The man I falsely accused became the savior of Egypt. The man I tried to corrupt became an example of integrity that's told throughout the known world. And I became exactly what I feared most. Forgotten, except for this story. This confession, this warning, some hungers cannot be satisfied by taking what isn't offered freely. Some needs cannot be filled by forcing others to meet them. Some emptiness can only be filled by the very God I rejected in my pride. I see that now. Too late to matter. Too late to change anything. But maybe not too late for you to learn from my hidden regret. The greatest tragedy isn't that Joseph refused me. It's that I refused the better comfort his God was offering through that refusal. I could have learned humility. I could have found real purpose. I could have discovered the peace I saw in Joseph's eyes. Instead, I chose the hollow victory of revenge. And I've been paying for it ever since. My name is Zuleika. I was Potiphar's wife, and I destroyed the most innocent man I ever met, because I couldn't bear being rejected by the most righteous one. Learn from my regret. Some hungers, once fed the wrong way, leave you emptier than you ever imagined possible. In more ways than one. This is Bible Behind the Scenes, where we uncover the stories they might not have taught you in Sunday school. If Zuleika's hidden regret opened your eyes to a different side of this biblical account, hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. Comment below, what surprised you most about hearing this story from her perspective? Was it learning that her household fell apart after Joseph left, that she eventually confessed the truth to her husband, or that her pride kept her from making it right, even when she had the chance? Next week, we're exploring another untold story from Scripture that will challenge everything you thought you knew. Until then, remember, rejection doesn't always mean you're being punished. Sometimes it's God protecting you from a path that would destroy you. The very thing you think you need might be the one thing standing between you and your true purpose.